It's really hard finding something to say. Nothing ever seems to be quite right. No one thing seems to be enough. I don't think one person can do justice to someone like her. Someone who's always been there, who's always present. To really get my grandmother, you would have to talk to more than just one person, or two, or three. You'd have to talk to all of us.
Grandma showed love in many ways. Many ways.
My first impression of her was that she was a woman who served her family. And I just, all I can think of is the kitchen in Cerritos, because that was where the world began and ended.
She would have, me and my sisters sitting in the kitchen, and she would throw food at us to chop up and, spoons to stir in pots. She never had a recipe that she written down, but she would have everybody working on one thing.
And I can remember we would have these family get-togethers back in the day when Grandma would do all the cooking for days and days and all that. I just see her at that stove, looking through that window, just for, seemed like days on end.
I mean, anything to do in the kitchen, I've learned from Mom. My cooking skills all came from her. I'm grateful for that because I enjoy it so much.
One of the things that I will always remember about her is those chips. She educated me on what real chips were like, that you can actually make them homemade. And I absolutely loved them. So whenever we would get there, she was still standing at that stove, frying the tortilla chip.
Whenever there was a party or a gathering, there was always more food than there had to be. There was more drink than there had to be. She made sure that nobody, that you never ran out of anything, that everybody was taken care of. She would not relax until she knew everyone was doing well. And the bigger, the better.
The one thing that I appreciated was being the woman of the house and, being a strong presence. But at the same time, she wanted to make sure that everyone is well fed.
She's the one who instilled in me how to entertain people, how to provide food and drink for the people that you care about. And in serving them, that is where you found joy.
That hospitality thing is freaking joy, straight freaking Frantela joy. Mom accepted everyone, loved everyone. You always felt special. There's not a soul that comes in that house in Mom's presence that you don't feel special.
Well, you can just imagine just coming into this family period was an experience. When I first met your family, it was kind of two completely different worlds. The California crazies and the buttoned-up Yankees. But it was always nice to go into the kitchen. She never let you help her, but she'd like to hang out and chat with her.
All the women, whenever we had a party, we all gathered in the kitchen because that was the best place to be, where women would gather and talk.
It was always just funny and irreverent, but somebody who was absolutely there to serve her family is the way I found her when I first met her.
Every family gathering, she brought so much joy to it.
Yeah.
Just because of the way she was. She was always authentic. She was always that person. She was never in a bad mood. Maybe she was in a bad mood, but how her bad mood came off was she was even funnier. So there was never a time when it was like, leave grandma alone. Don't be around grandma right now. It was always, she brought everyone together in that way.
Yeah.
She was more, to me, she was like the person that was working behind the curtain. She was the one that was making sure everybody had drinks or everybody had food or everybody was happy.
If you're going to do something, you're going to be the one doing it. If you're going to put on a party, you do it from beginning to end. You don't have to make it elaborate, but if you're going to say, I'm going to have a dinner, you make that dinner.
Think about all the strangers to her.
Yeah,
that came to that house, people that we bring, that other people would bring, friends of friends. Yeah. I never saw her one time be like, I'm hungry. I'm hungry. I want this to eat. I don't think one time ever did I ever hear her say that.
She rarely took care of herself. She was fun to be with, but she was always in the back, always behind the scenes.
It was always this thing about finishing. For me, I always saw how everything was completed, getting everything done. Like, your party wasn't done, even though everybody was gone. You cleaned up, you got everything together, you got your house back in order.
No matter what mood you're in, if you have guests, put it to a side.
Yeah.
When you have guests.
Yeah.
The concentration that she put in it without you even realize how much heart she put into it.
It's how we show our love. It's how we show our love for those we care about, providing for their comfort.
It comes from a place of love, total love, complete love.
And I don't mind catering to someone I love because I want to make people feel good too.
She taught me like how to treat a man and how to respect a man but still be strong and be myself. And that's a hard balance to find. And a lot of my aunts, it was hard for them to find that too. And and my mom, just all of us as strong women, it's a hard balance to find. And it's a hard thing to find that person that can handle that.
It just skipped a generation.
Yeah.
Everything skips a generation.
Yeah.
I mean,
Her femininity. I thought Grandma was the most beautiful creature in the entire world, and I wanted to grow up to be like her. I would watch her put on her makeup. I watched how she carried herself. For me, that was the most beautiful thing I could ever imagine, and how Grandma saw that her nails were always clean and her hair was always done.
yeah, when it was time, Grandma would present herself in that way. Could be a couple hours before she's sitting in the kitchen getting her nails done with half her hair gone. But as soon as somebody walked in that door, it was like, wow.
Yeah.
And it was never for anyone. It was always for yourself. Taking care of yourself is a projection, and people look at you a certain way when you take care of yourself.
Dress yourself up like $1 million, you gonna feel like $1 million. And you don't have to have $1 million to feel that way. The way Grandma was like, you ain't gotta have all that to feel like that.
What Mom taught me was to be a strong person, a strong individual, and that I did not need anything, that as long as I could put on a skirt and some heels and fix my hair and my nails, that as long as I could feel good and look good, I would be all right.
She set herself a gold standard of how to act, how to be, how to live, how to treat other people, and she lived by it every day, and she never betrayed it in any way.
She wanted you to have some class with yourself. No regret.
They would have parties, and we had an awesome time.
And that's the crazy thing is, just that neighborhood, they touched that neighborhood.
Yeah.
Sure. They put an effect on that neighborhood.
Oh, yeah.
For sure. With just, you had the neighborhood was like, oh, that's the Frantela house.
We have a lot of family that went to these parties. Because like my dad's side of the family, they were around a lot. So they'd see us and go, how were your grandparents? First thing they would say is, God damn, they had some crazy ass parties. I'm like, what the hell? Who are our grandparents?
She taught me how to drink, I will say that. Grandma could drink better than any man I knew.
And she was absolutely the same. You could not tell from one day to the next whether she had done anything or if she was just drinking her boxed wine. It was all the same energy, all the same laughter, all the same craziness.
Just like being there, her presence was it kind of filled the room, even though she was never a big, size-wise, she was never a big person, but you definitely, you kind of felt,
presence.
Yeah, you just felt her as like your, kind of like almost like a second home, or even a prime, or a home. It just felt like her.
Yeah.
It was just Grandma's feeling of just pure energy. I don't know how to explain it.
But I take a lot of that part to where my emotions, my affections, I suck at it. I suck at it. I hide it. I hide a lot.
You do.
I hide a lot, but maybe I got that from Grandma to where she would hide a lot. You never knew what kind of mood we just knew she was always in a good mood.
Yeah.
We never knew she was sick. I've never seen Grandma sick. She could have been.
I think we've all learned to kind of keep our opinions to ourselves.
She really did have some strong opinions about things.
Grandma, she didn't laugh. She wasn't just a talker.
Because, Grandma had attitude, if nothing else.
Well, she could be pretty brutally honest.
Before I got married, Grandma took me for a walk around the park, and she said, number one, don't listen to any advice your mother, boo, Rover, them give you, because they're wrong. They don't know how to be married, so don't listen to them. And I was like, okay, Grandma.
Well, I got a lot of sass from her.
And she would call my kids little tricks.
She was always nasty.
Yeah, that's right. Knock it off, the little tricks.
She would just say stuff and you just shake your head.
We were at the hospital. We picked her up, and she made a comment of like she's standing out there like a hooker.
And anybody who knows her knows she said crazy shit.
She goes pimping hoes and slapping bitches.
For me, it's not words, it's this sound that she would make when we would all make fun of her at family gatherings, and she'd be like, she's in the kitchen, we're all at the dining room table, all kind of ribbing on her, and she can't, she's trying to yell back, but...
Although Steve, he has a milder personality, every now and then Dorothy will come out in a tone of voice or a way he'll say something or the sarcasm or the way she would say things will come out of him. And it's always funny. Grandma was funny. The more I got to know her, the more I realized what an incredibly strong woman she was. And opinionated and right a lot of the times. And had every single one of her kids' number straight on. And she wouldn't say it, she wouldn't sit down and say, well, that was like that. It would just come out of her as she reacted to each of them sort of in a different way because she knew them so well.
Whenever I complained about something, she always said the same thing. Quit your complaining, figure out what you're going to do about it. I don't like the weather. Quit your complaining, figure out what you're going to do about it. She would never say what to do. She always left that up to us. Even when things got tough, I received bad luck, I'd always hear that same voice. Quit your complaining and figure out what you're going to do about it. Keep me positive, knowledgeable, mature, empowered.
She's saying go to work. She's saying get a second job. I don't worry about you when you're working 2 jobs.
I can always hear Mom like, do not overdo it, boo. You always overdo stuff. Don't overdo it.
No, I don't hear it nearly as often as I used to, only because I work all the time now. She has nothing to say.
I think Mom was protecting me. She knew she couldn't win it because to curtail my journey would be to tell me that I couldn't just live the best of my life. She absolutely wanted me to enjoy myself, but she didn't think it would take all the things that I would do. You don't have to do that, boo. You don't have to do all that. I'm like, but I want to do it. And of course I did, because I was like her. It's the thing that gives me most joy.
I actually feel her much closer in other ways. And that is when I do some of the craft that she had taught me. Sewing, embroidering, crocheting, or knitting. She taught me all of those. When I am doing those crafts, Grandma is right there with me. I feel her right next to me, watching me and approving of what I do. It's a time when she's the kindest to me. When we were sitting side by side doing something that she had taught me to do. Approving and sharing.
It seemed like she just took care of things. It was just easy for her to do, to support 6 kids and treat each one of us differently. And knowing each one of us, she didn't stress out over it. It was just what she did.
That's the part that I chose to remember, to concentrate on, to try and emulate, was showing kindness to your child. Showing them, regardless of whether you agreed with everything they did or not, that they had a right to think the way they did.
She taught me what unconditional love truly is. It's not what you say, it's what you do. And just as importantly, what you don't do. Yeah, it's not only it was okay for me to make mistakes, she gave me the freedom to make mistakes. I have never, ever found anything more empowering than that. I never found anything that gave me more credence to try something new than that. Unconditional love is the most powerful thing in the entire world, and I could never explain it except when I think of her.
If I'm upset about something, where she'll tell me, get it together, girl. She always called me girl. So that's the biggest one, is whenever I'm like, oh, I can't take this shit, or I can't take this shit, I can't deal with with life right now. And then I just hear Grandma going, get it together, girl, get it together.
She's like, stop being a baby about this. Like, she's just very blunt with me. So it's made me very blunt with others. So
it's almost like a force of nature that just kind of appears in your mind, you know, like, but in like your soul instead of outside.
Well, Grandma also taught me how to dance. Grandma loved to dance the cha-cha. And I used to watch Grandma dancing. The 1, 2, cha-cha-cha, 3, 4, cha-cha-cha. She really loved doing that.
You know, that's where I got my love for music, I believe.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, but Motown for sure from Grandma. Me and Grandma would sing it in the car when we go to the base. Mm-hmm. We go to the base and you turn that on and we singing away. She got her, you know, her Dixie cup, whatever was in it.
In our last week, Manuel was here, and he changed the station to a Motown station. Mom was not moving much, but I Feel Good came on from James Brown, and Mom's foot started tapping, like, rapidly, like absolutely tapping. And I thought that was the most amazing thing.
My youngest one, Emmy. Emmy loves music. Yeah. She will dance out of just boom, hear a song, she'll be dancing, moving. And I cried the other day because she's sitting in the passenger seat and she's looking in the side mirror. And she's sitting there and she's like, just singing to the words, and I'm like, Grandma, you gave that to us. Yeah. Like, Grandma, you gave that to us, you know? And it's passing down to my youngest one. Yeah. And it's a trip.
Yeah, I saw her change when she became a grandmother. I saw her change when she became a great-grandmother. Because Grandma wasn't, you know, she wasn't an affectionate person. She wasn't the I love yous and the hugs and the kisses. That just wasn't her. I saw a woman that stayed true to herself, even being a grandmother and a great-grandmother. She didn't force her ways on my kids or my grandkids because she would say, I don't know how they do things now.
I noticed a difference, but it was in funny ways. Like in the front, she started putting dinosaurs with the plants. She would do little things that were different. I thought she was happier, whether she acted like it or not. She did love having everyone around, especially the kids.
My kids didn't spend near as much time with your grandparents as you guys did. But at every stage of their lives, those kids, they never doubted that Grandma was there for them. Man, they adored her.
My mother was so generous in family. She always wanted family, especially her first generation of family, me, Trina, the girls, all her daughters.
The first year I was away at college, so I went to work in the supply room at Grandma's work. She got me a summer job there. And I remember leaning out of the door of the supply room because I heard Grandma's laugh. And it was a loud and hearty laugh. And it echoed down that hallway and bounced all around. I had not heard this free expression of joy that I was hearing from her. And I'd heard that laugh through the years. Whenever I heard a older woman laugh, I would always think back to Grandma and how that was such a joyous expression. They all knew her. She was popular. She was the life of the party. Everybody knew her. And I just was really glad that I got to know that other person, because I had not seen that side of her before, that laughter. I always felt that Grandma felt more burdened than that when she was in the home. She was the mother of 6 kids and a very controlling husband, and I think it was hard for her.
The last year of taking care of her, we got extremely close, and what I came to understand is that my own way of dealing with things within myself, my distance and my withdrawal and my keeping quiet and really just dealing with it within is a trait of her. She began to see how I was and I am like her without realizing it. I found that I dealt with it more like her, and I felt for the first time I was understood and there was no judgment.
I mean, for the last 4 years, I called her every Wednesday during my lunch, update each other on what had happened in the last few days. Sometimes it was a 5-minute conversation. Sometimes It was my full lunch. We just would chat, mom and daughter. I think every Wednesday at 11:30, I'm always going to think about her. That was our time.
It's got to be the part that loves. It's the best part of me. It's from her. My courage, my determination, nothing's worth giving up for. The essence of what I am. The humanity part of me is from her.
The biggest thing I learned from Grandma is how she used humor to get through things. If anything was ever hard or even just difficult, I don't know, Grandma just had a way about her, and it wasn't even, I don't even think it was conscious, but the way she reacted to it was fucking hilarious. Every single time. Like, it doesn't matter how hard it was, it could have been Grandpa on his deathbed.
It was.
And it was.
It was.
It's just how she was, she taught me that.
She was.
She just taught me that there's nothing negative about that. It's okay to cope in that way. Mm-hmm. It's okay to think about things in that frame, in that frame of comedy, and just not take anything too seriously. She always had everything in perspective in that way.
To pinpoint one thing, God, I have no idea. She was just like that person to me. Like, we butted heads all the time, but she was always that person to me. So if I needed something or just to talk about something, that was my person. So, and I have that because she never lied to me. Like, she always said, even if it hurt my feelings, which 95% of the time it hurt my feelings.
That's what I learned from Grandma, is to be my true self. And Grandma lived her true self to the very fucking end. When it comes down to it, to your dying day, be true to who you are. And that's what I got from Grandma.
I just learned from her, just help others, put other people before you, because just that joy of doing that and going, I help that person out, just that feeling of, helping other people just was like no other.
Yeah. I mean, I think definitely the humor part through hard times would be one of the best things to teach, because it just seems to just make everything better, like no matter what was going on.
Every time I have a guest over, I make sure that there's enough food and drink for them and that they are comfortable. I do it to this day. I want to provide my guests with a certain experience, to walk into my house and to feel there is no demand on them.
When people come into my home, it's the same way. Not so much that my emotions and everything that happened before is in a locked box that no one is allowed in, but at the same time, the moment they're in until the moment they leave. No one comes into my house and does dishes. No one comes into my house and does this and does that. It is about giving this sense of home to absolutely everyone who comes into my place unconditionally.
We're also very loving, as you all are. All of you are exactly that way. All the generation of you guys. Very loving, very giving, very caring. That does cycle down from her to us to you. Such an unconditional love could carry generations of people from one person.
And you start looking back at it and you're like, damn, like that's Gigi right there for sure.
Antonio has her and Emmy. They're the ones that carry that deep love and affection for people.
Antonio's very family oriented. He always wants to be around family. So he'd rather be around family than his friends. Like, he wants to be always around.
If she's got 3 cookies and she's got 3 friends that want those cookies, she's giving them up. Mm-hmm. She's giving them up. She's so worried about other people and thinks about herself last.
Michael is the doer. Little Michael is the one that will, if you need any help, all you got to do is ask him. And that's how Grandma was. If you needed any help, all you got to do is ask her.
Little Michael is going to be the helpfulness. If I come home, he's outside already grabbing my groceries, before I even get in the house.
Cheyenne's aloof like Grandma is. She looks at you and curses you out with one glimpse of an eye,
I see in her face, Cheyenne's facial expressions, the way she can look at you and tell you everything she thinks about you with a look in her face. Grandma could do that.
Joey, he has that sense of humor like Grandma had, that cut sense of humor that he says something and you're like, okay, I'm walking away bleeding and laughing at the same time. And Grandma did it all the time.
He will tell you exactly what he's thinking, and he has some serious jokes. Like, he'll cut you. Like at Christmas, in the middle of everybody opening presents, he calls his brother fat. Like, it's just he's thick. He said, ooh, he said, ooh, this gift card's thick. He goes, you're thick. Yeah. Like, what the heck? And he was quiet. He was and he just takes a rip at Antonio.
Leah is the quiet one. Leah is, I want to say, in the background sometimes, and that's how Grandma was. But when she stepped out, she was spectacular. Like when Leah comes out and dances, she's a completely different person.
Because she's like the other than clothes. She's like the prissy type, you know, because she's in dance and this and that. And I started thinking about it, and I go, yeah, Grandma liked to present herself.
Yeah.
Sparkles. You know,
Yeah,
like
she's
to
fashion forward.
Yes, fashion forward, and Leah is that way.
I'll probably try to pass on is just letting the younger generation learn for themselves. You know, tell them the advice you can give them, but like she lets people go out and fail.
Yeah.
We always do. I mean, it goes back to go outside in the park, go get hurt. You know, go run around, go make your mistakes. And she trusted that you were going to learn from them and become a better person from it. And I think I'll definitely pass that on.
Yeah, and that no trouble was ever too much trouble.
Yeah.
Whatever you did, you're still this person in our family, and that doesn't change. You still walk in, and it's still walking into that house, and it not being filled with laughter was creepy. Walking into laughter is something that we all, she entered into every single one of our lives.
Well, I wish I could say that I was as unconditional as she was. She really did treat people unconditionally. She'd tease you and everything, but she loved you, and that is aspirational, I think.
I came to realize that Grandma didn't know just what her impact on her being has been to all of us. Grandma just saw herself as Dorothy.
Grandma never felt that way about anybody. Grandma always felt that everybody was for Grandpa. Team Grandpa. It's like, no, Grandma.
Yeah.
We all about you too.
Yeah.
You know, I mean.
She never realized how much of a wife she was, how much of a mother and grandmother and great grandmother that she just never. She carried those titles, but she didn't understand her impact.
She was the first person to teach me how to shoot a basketball. First person to teach me how to swing a bat, to throw. I tell people this and they are like mind blown. They're like, what? I go, yeah.
That aura is amazing.
I'm hoping now that she can hear us from above, that she can understand just how powerful she was in each and every role that she's been in.
And it's that kind of experience that I would love to give that to somebody else, or to make someone feel the way that I felt when I was in her presence. And that's something that I could, you could probably spend your whole life trying to achieve that, and it wouldn't be a waste of life.
That we were all watching her. Every role she played was impactful and powerful.
The honesty and humor that she brought, I think, a testament to Grandma is how that has permeated through our entire family. We're all like her in a way, and she made sure that.
It's amazing to me the power that woman had without ever saying a word.
And it's the strongest feeling. It always surprises me when her presence is so defined. I just never expected that to happen.
I just wanted to be with her for as long as I could. Whether we were doing anything or not, didn't matter.
I hope as we celebrate her, she can look down and see just how much she really has been to everybody. I love her. I really love her.
I love about Grandma. I mean, she is going to be missed greatly. I mean, I talk about Grandma all the time.
Yeah.
All the time. I'll be sitting there at work now, and all of a sudden, I'm fucking crying. I'm like, I ain't no crier, man. Like, what the hell?
Other people go on and on about Grandma because she impacted so many people, because she wasn't just Dorothy. She was never just Dorothy.
Mine's actually the soundtrack to Air Force One with Harrison Ford because it was one of the first R-rated movies that I ever saw, and because she put it on and she showed me how cool it was that Harrison Ford was blowing away Russians.
I would purposely be loud because she was loud. And I know it annoyed her. So when she'd be doing something in the kitchen, singing or whatever, I'd come in and be like, Grandma, what are we eating? Like, just overly dramatic about it. And she'd be like, God damn, shut the fuck up. And I'm like, what? What'd you say? And we would literally go at it. She'd tell me to shut up, I'd tell her to shut up. And almost teenager.
Wow.
Almost.
Yeah. Dang.
Losing my goddamn mind. Losing my mind, man.
Fucked up. This is fucked up. Why are we adults?